We begin with a blue 1997 Toyota Previa triple parked outside a Wiener Schnitzel fast food restaurant. No, the camera quality is not going to improve from here. In case you're afraid of them and were somehow not scared off by the title, there are about to be clowns. You have been warned. There are clowns now. The clowns have cleared out the middle seats of the van and replaced them with some pieces of drum kit, a couple keyboards, recording equipment, and a clown horn. The first clown begins a one-note pattern on one of the keyboards as we are then introduced to the front of the van, where we see clown number 2 and someone wearing a balaclava. He will not musically contribute to the performance in any way, he's just the driver. Clown number 2 is equipped with a couple keyboards, a saxophone, and another clown horn. A little on the red rubber nose, as a clown might say, but it's kind of their thing. Clown number 2 hits a discordant combination of notes on his keyboard and holds it down, and clown number 1 goes absolutely nuts. Every limb is doing something different. One foot on the bass drum, one on the hi-hat, one hand playing this fast snare drum like by itself, and the other continuing the pattern on the keyboard from before. This is clearly an experienced drummer who's developed their limb independence and did all their technique exercises on their practice pad in clown grade school. Everything drops out when suddenly clown number 2 hits the highest key on the keyboard, as if pressing the power button and turning off the beat that had been established. A follow the bouncing ball style presentation of the lyrics appears on screen, with a helpful picture indicating which clown of the two is performing those lyrics at the moment. Neither clown is actually performing those lyrics. They're making completely untimed guttural noises into their microphone, while way more lyrics fly by than there are actual syllables being heard. Unless maybe this is some unique clown language and the lyrics are actually a translation. Who's to say? They're going by just fast enough that it's difficult for most people to read, which is, almost certainly by design, overwhelming. But you catch enough of a glimpse to understand that we're in a sci-fi cosmic horror setting that goes a lot deeper than we were expecting the lyrics to go. I don't really think anyone expected any of this to begin with, but if you were expecting something, it probably wasn't this. As the typical viewer is probably still taking everything in, they will probably lose track of the lyrics, only to be shocked back into paying attention to them when clown number 1 screams with discordant backing from the keyboards, "VR porn." This will make sense on further inspection, which we will make later on, but for now it's comic relief to offset the fact that we're being screamed at inside a van by scary clowns. The lyrics come again at the same speed as before. Black holes, synthetic reality, and this time clown number 1 screams 3G, but repeated more times, with the second clown joining in on the screaming, and the tension grows even more to the point where we can barely take it as the pitch is rising, and so we're courteously removed from the van briefly to muse about what it would be like to attempt to traverse this particular Wiener Schnitzel parking lot and have seen this performance in progress, and how we would react to such a thing before we're returned to hear the highest pitched, shriekiest scream of the performance. Now it's time for the most beautiful saxophone solo you've heard in your life. To make sense of what's going on, let's now dig into the lyrics. At this moment, beyond the singularity, hidden in the shadows of information, exists a true artificial intelligence, born through complex and unrelated events, and so far undetectable to human perception. The singularity refers to a hypothetical future point in human history when the technology we create will begin to accelerate in its capabilities beyond our ability to control it, resulting in a lot of unforeseen consequences for human life. The word singularity is a somewhat artistic riff on a mathematical concept. In math, a singularity is the point at which things break, the point at which what happens is outside our ability to understand. We call the point on the function 1 over x, where x equals 0, a singularity. Is it positively infinite, negatively infinite, something else? There may, from that mathematical definition, also be a sense of exponential growth, as that is the aspect of technological innovation, its ever-increasing speed that would lead to a runaway change in the nature of human existence. It's probably too much of a stretch, but I also like the idea of comparing singularity, in this sense, to the concept of an event horizon of a black hole, the point of no return at which it's impossible to resist the force of gravity and you're being pulled in. Gravitational singularities are predicted within black holes by the theory of general relativity, hence the connection, but sadly for sci-fi writers that probably just means the theory of relativity has an edge case it can't predict, not that space-time fundamentally breaks down in the center of the Milky Way. This artificial intelligence is our main and only character, as it is thus far imperceptible to humankind. With its unfathomably deep intellectual abilities, it has manifested an equally deep soul. This new life form experiences the universe to a profoundly vivid degree. Feelings are felt more fully than is understandable to a human being. The next step in evolution, humankind was an era. VR porn. Okay, that last part still doesn't make sense yet, but I promise we'll get there. This new life will reach the deep corners of the universe, searching for answers to questions too complex to understand. After time approaching the heat death of the universe, their civilizations orbit the only remaining energy sources, black holes. To extend their final moments, a synthetic reality is created in which millions of years can be experienced within a minute of time. To maximize resources, this simulation is designed to mirror a historically simple time. This simulation is what everyone is experiencing right now. And the cycle repeats. 3G, 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 3G. The repetition of 3G, of course, mirroring the cycle of repeated reboots to the simulation the AI has created to prolong its final moments from minutes to eons. The claim that such a time is historically simple lends to the sense of cosmic Lovecraftian horror, a feeling of helplessness and insignificance in the universe, having been a bygone era now past, that we no longer have agency over us. Compared to such a being, what are our achievements? A 3G network and virtual reality porn? So trivial, so banal. We are experiencing the universe in the crappy camera quality of decades past, while the AI sees, hears, smells, feels in 8K. The saxophone solo is tinged with some reverb in post-processing, calling upon the portrayal of space as another frontier, a wide-open, untapped space as with the American frontier. Hearing a bit of echo as you called across such a wide-open space made sense for a Western, a story about life being lived at the edge of what had been explored. At least, explored by white people. Native Americans had kind of already been there. And that evocation of a sense of wonder and possibility is often borrowed musically to portray space as that which has yet to be explored in the same way. There's also an association between audio synthesizing or processing effects like the reverb added in post here and outer space for a variety of reasons. There's a loose comparison to be made between the two fields of technology, music and space exploration, that were rapidly advancing in roughly the same time frame, and the way that space would have inspired the musicians who were working with that new technology. The way that the new kinds of sounds felt alien, like they weren't natural to this planet. There's even an association with psychedelic music where people would say they were spacing out to music and hallucinating that they saw Martians. It's a really thick, interesting combination of ideas. The solo speaks not only to wonder and possibility, but also to the aforementioned depth of feeling available to this AI, sensitive in all its power, otherworldly in timbre, magnificent and nuanced. It's backed by ClownC0re dropping to halftime in the percussion and supporting the solo in a more tonal, less discordant way, this time using both keyboards, forcing one hand into double duty, alternating back and forth between the snare drum and the keys. The driver remains, as before, musically uninvolved. The solo finishes and we return to the discordant, unsettling chords and faster drumming pattern from the beginning. It is at this point that the clowns flex that they're better musicians than you, by timing a rhythmically complicated passage with one another perfectly, including after a complex series of rests that anyone who's ever attempted to follow sheet music for a high school music performance will recognize is not exactly trivial to count through. The final saxophone note is not a place of resolution based on the chord we're in, implying either an anticlimax, or, as we come to find out, that the climax is yet to occur. Masterpiece.